Hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. Happy Friday. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hola, Humberto. Hello, love. How are you? Welcome, everyone, to tonight's talk about the unspoken. I am Dianise, your host and your sexuality expert here every night at 9 o'clock. For those of you who may not know me, I am Dianise and I am the owner of Sexuality Power, where I support individuals and couples in really creating the life that they want through the full expression of their sexuality through coaching and other programs. Irvin, Roberto, welcome Zoraida. Thank you for joining this evening. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the replay viewers as well as anyone who's new. Thank you for the hearts. Oh, heart you back. Hi everyone. Thank you for coming on. So tonight I want to talk about safer sex, right? Safer sex in terms of our sexual health, because this is one of those conversations that you're going to have at multiple points probably throughout your life, and it's always good to kind of talk about this. So I actually thought about this conversation because I am dating someone and this conversation came up, and I figured I would also just share some of, the lessons that I'm learning and putting into practice here with you all on Periscope. So safer sex, the topic is always one that people find really daunting. And I think really that's because of the fear of like, what's this person gonna think? How do I bring it up? So all of these are questions that we may be asking ourselves when it comes to the topic of safer sex. And one of the things I want to talk about tonight is really that the safer sex conversation isn't just for people who are dating, it's also for people who are in relationships, and sometimes even for people who are married, because our sexual behaviors might look very differently regardless of what our relationship status is, right? So I just want to put that out there so that we all kind of think about that as we go on in this Periscope. So really, safer sex, how do you bring it up, right? And really, I think for most people, it's a topic that you might talk about right before you have sex. And really, it should be a topic that you talk about pretty early on. If you're starting to date with someone, I would really encourage you to just bring it up casually and, hey, I would love to know what your thoughts are on safer sex practices. And really just have a conversation. It's really getting to know what someone's position is on certain things and having a dialogue where you get to know each other and how you relate to sexual activity in terms of health. So one of the big things, the things that you should cover, right? Like what should we cover in this topic? And you should definitely talk about, condom use, outer course, like what does that look like for you? Is it something that we want to do? With condom use, a lot of people nowadays are allergic to latex. That's something you want to talk about. Is there a latex allergy? Is there not? And really, what are each other's opinions on condom use? For some people, it's, I'm always going to use a condom no matter what. It's my practice. And for some people, it really depends on who they're engaging in intercourse with. And, another person might have completely different opinions where it's like, I can't it doesn't feel good. And, those are conversations that you have to negotiate and you have to have, because once you're in the moment, it's really hard to have those conversations and have, clear conviction on your position, right? It's too late at that point. You also want to talk about STDs and HIV. Those are very real, and a lot of STIs and STDs really don't have symptoms. So you want to talk about testing. You want to talk about when was the last time your partner or your potential partner got tested? When was the last time you got tested? What were the results? Was anything inconclusive? These are things we want to know. These are things that are healthy to know about your partner before engaging in activity, right? And also, one of the practices that I strongly encourage is going to get tested together, right? So if you were both tested 3 months ago, hey, every 3 months you should be getting tested if you're changing partners. So that's something to consider, going to get tested together. And what does that mean? And really, it does create a stronger sense of connection and bond when you can actually engage in safer sex practices together and seeking out healthcare together. So those are just some of the basics for safer sex. On top of that, once everything, you've checked off all of those boxes in terms of, we've had the condom talk, we've had the STI, STD, HIV talk, we've had, the next talk is really pregnancy, because, if it's a heterosexual relationship, you want to talk about pregnancy. You want to talk about, if the condom breaks, is there another birth control option that you want to explore? Is there, what's your positions on abortion, adoption, having a baby? These are all conversations that we really should be having. And some of them may seem very serious to have, but we should really be having them ahead of time, because you don't want to catch yourself in a position where you don't know what your partner is thinking or what their position is on something, and it's not what you expected. So don't assume anything, and don't go into these conversations with any expectations. Really just be curious. I think that's the biggest thing that we can do, is just have an open mind and be curious about, how do we agree on these things? Do we agree? Do we disagree? Are there any, red flags that would need further conversation? And those might be really stark oppositions on condom use, right? So if you always want to use a condom and they never want to use a condom, that's something that really needs to have a deeper conversation. Same thing with abortion. This is one of the topics that a lot of people don't want to talk about. There's so much taboo around abortion. It's like people think it's a dirty little word, and it's not. It's something that people go through every day. A lot of women who get abortions are moms already, and it's something we need to talk about. It's something we need to put out there as an option. Like, what happens if you're not ready and I'm not ready to have a child? Are you okay with an abortion? And having that conversation, as hard as that may seem, this also, for me, one of the interesting things is I've studied how different cultures talk about sexuality and how different cultures practice safer sex. And, here in the US, some people might think that carrying, a woman carrying a condom means something like she's a slut or a whore or something like that, where really that's just a sign of safer sex practice. And in other countries like Denmark, if a woman doesn't carry it, right, if a man doesn't carry a condom, that's actually seen as more risky. So really look at that difference and see how can you really begin to practice safer sex practices, and what does that say about you? What does that say about your partner when they're open to having that conversation? For me, it's a really good sign when people are open to having this conversation, because it's something that is necessary, right? We want to have healthy lives, healthy sexualities, and the safer sex talk is definitely an important one in order to be healthy and whole. So I'm going to pause and see if any of y'all have questions. I know I just did a lot of talking. Yeah, so true. It does show responsibility. And I think that that's something that our culture has not stressed enough, that this conversation is so necessary to really have safer sex practices. And in relationships, right, you want to continuously have like that safer sex conversation and the birth control conversation, right? There's couples that have an open relationship, right? What are the terms around that? There's couples that, you know, use the pull-out method, right? Once you're in a monogamous long-term relationship with one partner, you know, you might decide that condom use is not necessary, but I still encourage to talk about birth control options if you're in a heterosexual relationship, to really understand, you know, what happens if we get pregnant, right? And what are our options, and what would you decide, and at what point would that decision change? During my singlehood, I carried a condom in my wallet. Yep. I can always carry condoms, right? And I personally, I'll disclose, I have a latex allergy. So most guys are not actually thinking, hey, let me carry a condom that's non-latex. So for someone like me, I have to, you know, just as my own health, you have to carry one. But I always encourage people to do this. And throughout the years, I've gotten a lot of lip from different people, like, oh my God, you have a condom in your bag? And it's like, yes, I have a condom in my bag. Why don't you? And that's my question, right? It's like, why don't you? And it's because there's so much shame and stigma around having a healthy sexual appetite and wanting to be adventurous. And, you know, it's time to begin to debunk those myths, to change the perspective, because it is part of healthy sexuality, and it's part of being responsible with your body and with your sexuality. So thank you all for joining and sharing. And if I thought I might need more, I would go get the larger box. Yep. Thank you, Zoraida, for being so open and sharing. Thank you. I totally encourage women to carry condoms. Female condoms are another great option because you can actually wear it for up to 6 hours before having intercourse, and it leaves it up to you, right? So it's inside of you, and you can really control the situation a lot more that way. But do not, you know, everyone has to be ready to kind of know what are their boundaries, right? So if your partner is not willing to put on a condom, you have to be ready to say, then we're not having sex, right? And that's something too that I want us all to be prepared for. It's like, okay, what happens when there's not an agreement? You have to be ready to walk away. And that can sometimes be the harder part, is like, oh, wow, like, but I really like this person. And sometimes you just have to say, you know, my health is more important, and I'm going to walk away from this because it's not safe. It's not safe enough for me. So thank you for the convo. It's 2015. No use in being ashamed about sex. It's fun and a huge part of life. Yes. And relationships. Yes. And, you know, if you are in a polyamorous relationship, in an open relationship, in a marriage where it's, you know, open-ended, I would also say these are important conversations to continuously have and revisit, right? Hey, have you been consistently having safer sex? And having that be a regular check-in conversation. So these are just some of the tips around safer sex practices. I will continue, you know, always providing more and more tips on all of the topics surrounding sexuality, and encourage you all, if you have topics you want me to bring up here and talk about, or if you have any questions, always feel free to message me on here or through Twitter. And I also just want to remind everyone that I am offering 20-minute complimentary sessions where you can access my calendar and book a session. Right there is my calendar link. You can book a session and get a 20-minute exploration call with me where we talk what can potentially be blocking you from fully expressing your sexuality and manifesting the life that you want. So I hope you all sign up for a 20-minute talk. Those are awesome conversations that I've been having with you all. So thank you to anyone who has already signed up and had their 20-minute call with me. And all of you who are watching, join them on the line of people doing a 20-minute session with me. Until tomorrow night, I wish you all a passionate evening. Thank you for being on and all of the love and support. Until tomorrow, take care.